Welcome to the House of Hoosier podcast. I'm your host, AJ Guyton. Got a very, very special guest here, even though he hails basketball life from West Lafayette, Purdue alum, two-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. And what I've been impressed with is a Big Ten analyst now, man. He's rocking it on the Big Ten Network, getting a lot of work in, a lot of mileage in. Rapheal Davis is in the building. What's up, my brother?
What's up, bro? How you doing? Appreciate you having me.
Can't complain, man. I see you racking up them air miles and them car miles. How you feeling with the gas getting up to about 430 now? Like, is it hitting you over the head?
Nah, if I'm being honest, man, it's not hitting me over the head because I get to expense the gas.
Oh, okay. You driving on purpose. You going everywhere.
It's all good.
That's what's up, man. I want to jump right into it, man. You've been, doing a great job on the Big Ten Network. One of the up and coming stars in that game, man. Proud of you. Watch your maturation from the beginning and to where you are now. I see the comfort level. I see you always knew your stuff, but now just you got the game on lock when it comes to that now. So tell me, how were you able to get into that game? And it hasn't been everything that you've thought of so far. How were you able to improve so quickly and being an analyst?
Yeah, getting into it, just simply, I was talking with Paint. I think this was homecoming of 2017 or 18 at Purdue. I was staying at his house for the weekend. We just was talking in front of his house one night. And I was just asking him, I told him what I wanted to do, kind of what I thought I was doing. I was in pharmaceutical sales at the time with Eli Lilly, and I just wanted to be back in the game. And Paint he threw me a bone. He said, look into this. He kind of said, look into commentating. Because Robbie Hummel was doing it at the time. He was doing well. And I looked into it at the time, but at the time I looked into it, the Big Ten, I guess there's a camp that former NBA players can go to work on broadcasting. And I didn't play in the NBA, so I was not privy to a camp like that. So It was a little tougher for me. So I couldn't get my foot in the door at first. So I reached out to Robbie. I asked Robbie to help a little bit. So it just was a few-year process type of deal where I didn't hear anything. I kept reaching out. But then last year, the Big Ten reached out to me. So this is 2021. No, 2020. They reached out to me. And then they asked me would I be interested in talking about it, learning more about it. I told them, obviously, of course. That nothing happened because of COVID.
Right, yeah.
So that kind of knocked it out. So I started a podcast of my own, kind of trying to build some stuff. And then they reached back out over this summer, asked me that I want to come in and audition in August. And then I heard in November that I got the gig. So it just was a long process that I wanted for a couple of years and just kind of stayed the course with it.
Awesome story, man. You definitely look comfortable up there, man. I was just curious as to, how that process went, how'd you get on, but you're definitely doing a good job, man. And I mean, you get to do your favorite thing in the world is talk about basketball. You get to watch basketball all day long, which brings me to, what both of us has been involved in over our careers is the Indiana Purdue rivalry. But first I want to ask you, is it hard not being biased when you're up there talking about your alma mater, knowing the connection with Paint, knowing the years and sweat and tears you put into it? Is it hard not to be biased when you talk about your own team?
No, it's not hard to be biased because I want the best for them too. So I'm able to be I'm honestly able to be more critical about
really? Okay.
So, because I'm not worried about how the fans feel.
Okay.
Because they know it's coming from a good place. If I came on air and I was super critical about IU, which I have been, but if I was a little over the top,
right,
it would just come off wrong. But with Purdue, I'm able to be a little more critical because I can say certain things on air, and I may have a Purdue assistant coach call me. Like that happened.
Oh, really?
I said I thought Rutgers would beat Purdue because I did at the time. After Purdue beat Rutgers at Mackey, Coach Brantley called me. So it was. I got that type of relationship with Purdue where I'm never too worried about being critical because I know how the coaches feel.
Right.
But there are times where I want to say certain things that I have to hold back about Purdue. But no, it's been a good time. I like the game of basketball. So for me, it's not necessarily about who's playing; it's about how they're playing. Like watching IU or talking about IU, it's not hard for me. My brother and sister both graduated from Indiana. I
Okay.
mean, back in the day, Calvin
Mm-hmm.
Sampson was the one that recruited me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't hate the
Yeah,
university,
no,
but
definitely.
it's it's definitely when they beat Purdue, like I was in the crowd and I was in Assembly Hall. I was right behind Purdue's bench. Like that
Oh,
stunk. But
yeah, definitely.
I'm able to kind of shy away from it on there, I think.
Yeah, I saw that shot Finney hit, man. And I was on the other
Yeah.
side of that shot my freshman year where Chad Austin hit it from the same spot. Well,
Mm,
not a three though, it was a two, a long fadeaway and beat us. So I see both sides, and I just smile because I know the Big Ten is better when that rivalry is intense. So
yeah,
I'm
100%.
definitely. So I'll be excited to see good games, see both teams compete. Indiana, man, hit a little slide there towards the end of the year. I didn't feel like they didn't play super poorly. I just feel like they didn't make plays in winning time. When
Right.
you watch Indiana basketball, what has been your take on why they haven't gone to that next level where Purdue and Illinois is at right now? What during the season, what adjustments do you think they could make in order to make a deeper run to solidify a spot in the tournament?
I think well, okay, I can give you two
Mm-hmm.
parts.
Yep.
The first part is kind of when you look at Illinois, you look at Purdue, is that I mean, Illinois, when Brad Underwood got there, they were bad. They weren't
Right.
good at
Right.
all. And he
Mm-hmm.
kind of built that culture up. So he had a few years to do it. And then with Paint, I mean, my sophomore year, we were last place in the Big Ten. And even a couple of years ago, they were not, I mean, I think 2020, the COVID year, they were 9-11 in the Big Ten. They probably wasn't going to make the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So they had those years where they were down, they got to build up. But I think with Indiana, like you said, I think you hit it on the head. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
in games and they're coming down the stretch. They're in those close games. It's just those last 4 or 5 minutes, the winning plays aren't there.
Right.
And I strongly believe I could be wrong, but like you look at the Wisconsin game down the stretch, the last 10 minutes, TJD only not shot the ball, but he only touched the ball 2 or 3 times.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, he's an All-American. And I don't feel like your All-American shouldn't have the most shot attempts, especially close game down the stretch. You look at
Absolutely.
the Rutgers game at home, he had 15, and that was after that Wisconsin game. He had
Mm-hmm.
15 in that first half against Rutgers. I think he only had 2 or 3 points in the second half. He went 1 for 3.
Mm-hmm.
So like he gets 8 shot attempts in that first half.
Wow.
They go up 10, 15 points. And with him and Race Thompson, they're killing the first 10 minutes. And then from that 10-minute mark on to second half to overtime, he doesn't really touch the ball.
Right.
So I think sometimes the guards go away from him a little bit. Maybe he's not demanding it as much or
Yeah.
forcing it enough, but I don't think you can have games where he just doesn't get shot attempts, especially towards the end of the season. That he was getting doubled, he was kicking it out.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's not as if he throw it into a black hole, he's gonna shoot through the double. He started to kick it out, and I think when they do throw it inside, like I think they need more movement. You will
Right.
see Xavier
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, Parker Stewart, they catch on the wing. First thing they do, ball goes on the top of the head.
Yeah.
And they
Mm-hmm.
trying to throw it in. It's so methodical. The defense
Yeah.
is seeing it. And when they do get it in there, they just stand still.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so easy to double, scrape, whatever you want to do, instead of cutting through the defense, Xavier Johnson, and rotating and things like that. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
little easy to guard. So it gets stagnant offensively, which hurts them when they're trying to force it inside. So I
Right.
think down the stretch, just winning plays, like you said, it's just not knowing where the ball needs to go. Like against
Right.
Wisconsin, I keep going back to the Wisconsin game, but there's Wisconsin style defense to let the guard shoot jump shots.
Right. Yeah.
Like they
Mm-hmm.
got that pack line defense. You got to beat us from the jumps from jumpers from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and IU, they kept banging their head against the wall trying to beat them with the jump shot
Right. Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of just throwing like Tyler Wall, Stephen Crowell, Chris Bolt. They can't guard TJD on the block.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you think you're open in a basketball game. In reality, you open for a reason. And
Right.
that's tough. That's tough for some players to understand. I think IU players are figuring that out.
You know what, I like that take, and I believe that because I'm gonna ask you to go into explaining to the layman what touching the ball does. I'll ask you to do that first. Explain to Indiana fans what him touching the ball in those key moments, what that does, and why it's crucial that your All-American touches the basketball in those crucial moments.
I mean, first thing to me, it just keeps him engaged. You'll see
Right.
TJD at times. I mean, he's engaged. He's the most athletic player on the floor. He's rim to rim. It just looks amazing the way he plays. But then you'll see some games where they're just not giving him the ball, and it's a little demoralizing when your teammates are going away from him. And you know, like, I'm supposed to have the ball right here, and they're jump shot after jump shot. You in a track meet at that point, just running up and down. Right. And I think that takes, because TJD also is, make all defensive team. He's one of the better rim protectors. That when he's touching the ball, he's better on defense. And it shouldn't be that way, but it's just the way of the land. That's just how we are. Yeah, that's how we built. So it keeps them engaged, but then it also keeps the defense honest. Because the defensive game plan is to stop TJD. Right. So they rotate to him, they do whatever, and he's become a willing passer, gets everybody else involved. So I think you just he's that calming force that you gotta go to. And the guards, I mean, Parker Stewart, Xavier Johnson, and Miller Kopp, they haven't played with a dominant big man like that. And when I got to college, I hadn't played with one. So I got with AJ Hammond. Well, he was AAU, but school ball. I got with AJ Hammond, and he's supposed to touch the ball 25 times a game and not average 30 in high school. That's a big difference. Yeah. So I think him touching it, it gives them a way to get to the free throw line. It gives them a way to get the defense collapse on him. You get open shots, like him touching the ball, cross-court pass to Parker Stewart, something of that magnitude. I just strongly believe that you have an All-American. There's no way in a close game he shouldn't be getting the ball at least every other time down the floor.
Right. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time, because they're offering a $250 match bonus for our first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play to turn your money into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With football season kicking off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. IU fans, basically, to break it down for you, he's telling you the team is picking the wrong poison. At the end of the day, they're deciding to, try to beat you from the outside when they have a stud inside. I will tell you this, man. I'm looking at the top teams and I'm looking at the consistency throughout the Big Ten every year. And the thing I've always felt like IU was missing was a consistent perimeter threat that the other team couldn't prepare for. So what I mean by that is a Trent Frazier or Alfonso or Andre Cabello or a Johnny Davis or a Jaden Ivey or a Ron Harper Jr. I felt like I said, man, they got solid play. It's just that dude that wasn't in the scouting report. I remember when I played, I used to, I scored a lot of points, and then I could hear them saying, "Well, what else you want me to do?" That's the guy, because you broke him down and you went to the hole, or you pulled up from 30 and knocked it in, like Ron Harper Jr. hit the game winner against Indiana. That's not a play that you work on. Like, that's a basketball player making plays. In those situations where you're on the road in the Big Ten, I just felt like you need a Johnny Davis, you need a Keegan Murray, or you need a Kofi, somebody do you think Trace Jackson is that guy? Or do you see what I'm seeing from a basketball team structure point of view? Just haven't had Xavier did it for a small stretch against Minnesota and another team. I can't remember the other team, but I know it was against Minnesota. He had a good game in the game before that. But it's just not consistent, and it's not. And on the road is where you need it most. Well, do you see that, or you're like, man, all they need to throw it in the TJD?
No, I'm with you. Honestly, I'm with you, because I mean, you think about those, like you said, Xavier Johnson had a stretch where, I mean, he was bad. I mean, I believe he lost a family member. He wasn't playing well, like 5 games in a row. I think he was shooting the ball like 28% from the floor. But he had those 2-3 games where he's averaging 20, 24 points, 7 assists. And IU, they're averaging 70 points, shooting 40 from the 3. And like you said, that's what they need. When I played, it was Yogi Ferrell. And then when Yogi came James Blackman. Yogi and James Blackman. Even though, I mean, you think about those teams, all of their big men went to the NBA. Noah Vonleh, Thomas Bryant, I mean, Cody Zeller. I'm missing one. I'm missing one, but I know. Yeah, and Anobi, all of those guys, those guys were in a TJD type of position. They went to the NBA, they were all American, but Yogi was the guy. Like to me, it doesn't matter what somebody says. Yogi was that guy. He break a play, he do what he want. James Blackman. I mean, I went to middle school with James Blackman. Like I've known him since I've known little James since he was 5 years old. He was born to get a bucket, born to shoot the basketball.
Exactly.
So you saying, I 100% agree with that. Like especially in March, it's a guards game.
Man,
like it's a guards game, and if you're guard, like you see it full circle with Indiana, with how Xavier Johnson is playing. When he plays well, they play well. You get TJD going with some lobs to begin the game. You get energizing, but and also defensively. But no, I'm totally with you. If you don't have a guy that's breaking down in defense to create, to get Miller Kopp going, to get Parker Stewart going, that is something that I think Xavier Johnson's done a good job of late.
Yeah,
he struggled adapting to it and being that what they have asked for. Because I think that's when Indiana's at their best, where they have a guard that can, or honestly, not even just Indiana. With Purdue, I mean, you think about Purdue. When I was there, we had Biggie, AJ, Isaac.
Yeah.
And we weren't, myself included in that. We weren't breaking guys down my senior season.
Right.
We were just trying to throw. We were so focused on throwing it inside.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. I think a dynamic guard in the Big Ten changes teams. Like you see Eric Ayala, Fats Russell, when they get going, if they had a TJD down there, it'd be tough. So no, I it's got to be a balance, and I completely agree with that.
Okay, now let's shift to your Boilermakers, man. I've been watching them for a while too. I love cultures. Like as a former player, man, and as a coach, and all the things I've done after basketball. I love to focus on to try to help young coaches develop team culture, man. How has Paint been able to? What are the secrets to Paint's culture, and that you noticed that is it able to help Purdue sustain that elite status in the Big Ten, to help other coaches out here in the world develop a culture?
I think something unique about Paint and Purdue, or even like a Wisconsin and like Bo Ryan, the Greg Gard, like you think Gene Katie, the Matt Painter. I think it's just been a consistent culture over time since back in the day. And I think Paint specifically in recruiting, I think that's where Paint kind of does his hey. I mean, he's not lying to you in recruiting. Like you're not even talking about minutes. Like you practice hard, you get on the court. Like it's not are you gonna start this position, it's not you gonna play this position, it's not you gonna play this many minutes. So when you get to campus, you're not expecting much on that aspect. Your parents aren't expecting much. So he sets a fair expectation for you. He's a fair dude. I mean, he doesn't really buy into anything outside of winning Purdue basketball games. And he lets that be known. So like you'll see Eric Hunter, or you see it with Travion Williams and Zach Edey.
Yeah.
He don't care. He don't care. He don't care who starts. Like it was that same way with AJ Hammons, Isaac Haas. You see Eric Hunter start the year off on the bench. Now he's starting. He had a great Big Ten season. He's all defensive first team. So he doesn't really get into that emotional side of it. So that's one thing about it. But he cares because he's fair. And then he wants to help you. And with Paint, you want to play hard because he cares about you outside of the game of basketball. He's going to take care of you. I mean, you can always lean on him. But on the floor, I just think he's consistent. I think he's consistent in his messaging and what he wants to get across. We had a year where we come last place in the Big Ten. So he changed the way he recruited. He only started worrying about getting Purdue guys. Like you look at Sasha Stefanovic, Zach Edey, those dudes aren't ranked high. Jaden Ivey was maybe top 80, top 90 in the country. So that type of stuff doesn't matter to him. So he just wants to go out there and win games and win them the right way. So I think the guys understand simplicity. And he's not trying to sell a dream. It's real structured. And he does a good job with his messaging and keeping it simple, and just like he keeps it extremely simple, and then just lets you go out there and execute. He's a guy that you can shoot it. If you work on it in practice, I see you work on it in practice, do it. But you can play at Purdue as long as you play defense. And that is his staple, even though they may not have the greatest defense team this year, but that's his staple. And if you can do those things, you can play. So I think he's just I said all that to say he's just a fair dude. And when you see a coach going hard, it makes you go a little harder. But I think the consistency of culture, like a Wisconsin, like a Purdue, when you don't have too much changeover in your coaches, or even from coach to coach when they're a little similar, maybe they were on the same staff, I think it makes it a little easier.
I wanted to ask you about that, the pairing with you say AJ Hammons and Isaac Haas and Travion Williams and now Zach Edey. And I think Zach Edey's a good Big Ten basketball player. But I tweeted out the other day that I felt like Travion Williams needed to play more in order to make a deeper run. And the reason why I said that was because I know how intense and up-tempo the NCAA tournament is in contrast to the Big Ten style of play. And I was a rhythm player. Like I could go the first 5-6 minutes and not score, and then score 15 straight in the next 7 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like this is because I was really just, I was taught as a young age to let the game come to you. So a guy like Travion Williams, I believe he's an all Big Ten basketball player. I believe he's, if the minutes were there, he'd be a 17-8 guy, and he'd be on that first team list too. Do you, and from you and you closer to it than I've ever been, do you think there needs to be more consistency at that spot in order for them to make the run that they want to run? And we all know it's not going to change because we know coaches from the old school don't change anything. So whatever they want to do, they do. But just from a basketball player standpoint, what are your thoughts about this particular pairing? And if it could, lead to, if a change might lead to a deeper run, or can they make a deeper run? Because I feel like they could score more points with a quicker lineup in a more open setting. As big as Zach Edey is, he does kind of clog the lane up a little bit when I see Jaden Ivey happen to get even more acrobatic to finish because he's in there. But, obviously he's a great player. I'm not even saying that. But what are your thoughts about that?
No, I get exactly what you're saying. I think it's going to go as far as the matchups go in the tournament, depending on who they're playing. Because even this season, you'll see a game where Travion Williams, he may play 27 minutes and Zach Edey 13. Or even vice versa. So I think it's going to come down to who they're playing and the style of play. Because I get exactly what you're saying. AJ was built for games that Isaac wasn't built for. Right. And Isaac was built for games that AJ wasn't built for. So I think you look at who they're playing and the style of basketball. Right. I completely agree with you. Travion is more of a rhythm player. Like he's getting the rhythm, the game will come to him, he make a few passes, and then he's going to that right hook. Yeah. So I think he could benefit from more minutes, but I think he has to. You just got to show consistency because with Payne, if you're not consistent in practice before that game, I'm sticking to it. But if sometimes you can tell who was dominating in practice. Like if you see a starting change or some guys just playing more. Like Payne puts a lot in the practice of how you playing that week, but also how you start the game. Because you may see Zach Edey start the game, Travion Williams finish the game. So I get exactly what you're saying. I think it's more of a fluid offense when Travion's in the game because of his passing ability. It's not bogged down, like you said. But I think it's just going to come down to matchups and who they're playing and the style of play they like to play. If it's a half-court game, I think you see more of Zach Edey. If it's a team that likes to get up and down, I think you're going to see more Travion.
Absolutely. Good answer, man. Back to the Indiana real quick, man. Do you think the loss versus Purdue hurt their their tournament chances? And Woody, how many games do you think they need to win, if any, to get into the tournament? Me personally, I believe that the Big Ten is going to get 8 in. I can't see a conference that that competitive from top to bottom, where even Nebraska's going into Wisconsin and getting dubs. Like that shows you, okay, the teams are growing through the season. I think they'll get 8 in. But you're closer to it. You may have some inside. What do you think the IU's chances are of getting into the tournament? What do they need to do?
I don't think the Purdue game hurt them necessarily because Purdue was top 10 in the country. They were on the road. They played well. I think a game like the Rutgers game at home, that's one that you want. That's one that you got to win. I think that one may have hurt them more, if that makes sense. So games like that, I mean, I completely understand and I agree with what Coach Woodson did at Northwestern. Yeah. Because you setting the culture. But that game hurt because that
Yeah.
was one that they're going to win most likely. So that
Mhm.
game hurt a little bit. But I think for as far as what they need to do, I think if they beat Michigan, this is my opinion. I'm not a bracketologist, but
Right, I know. That's all
when I see
good.
Michigan, when I see them play Michigan, I think you beat Michigan, you're in. The way Michigan's playing right now, I think
Mhm.
Michigan's in. I think that win over Ohio State on the road got Michigan in the
Yeah,
dance. But
definitely.
I think if Indiana beats Michigan Thursday, I think they could beat Illinois. I don't see any reason they can't.
Right. It's the upset.
So
Yep.
yeah, I think Xavier Johnson played well. I think that's a good matchup with he and Trent Frazier. I think Kofi and TJD is a good matchup. It'll be tough for Illinois to keep Race Thompson off the glass unless they
Mhm.
play Coleman Hawkins a little more.
Mhm.
But I think if they win that first one, I think they improve their chances a lot. But if they win that second one, they get to Saturday, I think they can get in it.
Absolutely.
Because they don't necessarily have bad losses. That
Right.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
They
They
don't
don't
have
have the
any.
greatest wins, but they don't have bad losses.
True that.
So if they can get one or two more good wins under their belt, especially now that Michigan has moved up a little bit in the net and all
Mhm.
that stuff. I think those two will help. They got the thing about Indiana right now is they got good opportunities in front of them. They got a game they could win, and then a big game that could send them over potentially. So I think I think Thursday morning is gonna be. I think that's the biggest game of the Big Ten at this point at the Big Ten tournament.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Who is your dark horse to make a Final Four run in the Big Ten? Who's your dark horse and why?
I'm going Iowa. Yeah,
Iowa.
Iowa.
Okay.
I'm taking Iowa. They're playing well right now. And one thing they made a change in their starting lineup. They took Joe Toussaint out, put J-Bo at the point, and inserted Tony Perkins. And Iowa's not a team that, especially since I played, you're not necessarily going to say, oh, they locking up. Like
Right. Yeah.
they
Exactly.
defending at a high
Mm-hmm.
level.
Mm-hmm.
But you add Tony Perkins in there in February, that's a guy that next year, the year after, could be all defensive in the Big Ten.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
he's from Indiana. He gets basketball, and he's just a dog on the defensive end. And now he's been scoring, so now he's
Mm-hmm.
got that confidence to score the ball. So they're not necessarily like they went to him to make the play against Illinois. He got the
Yeah.
ball to Keegan. Keegan got it to Chris.
Yeah.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think that gives them another punch there, but also defensively, it just makes them so much tougher.
Yeah.
So I like the Iowa team. Keegan Murray is probably going to be the best player on the floor, no matter who they play. And when
Mm-hmm.
you got a guy like that in tournament style play, I mean, you see what Carson Edwards could do. You see how guys can just go off by themselves. And then you get one or two of those guys playing well, Perkins, J-Bo, Chris Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and if they can rebound,
Yeah.
I think I think they're the dark horse. I don't know if you should be they consider a dark horse the way they've been playing in February
Definitely.
into March, but I take the Iowa team.
Definitely. I mean, dark horse basically means nobody's going to probably pick Iowa to make it past
Yeah.
the second round or the Sweet 16 for sure. But they defensively, but they do. They and that's the thing in the tournament that can happen. They'll throw a different defense at you that you weren't prepared for, and that's what the coach McCaffrey is really good at. So that's a good pick in my opinion, man. Last thing I ask you about Indiana basketball, man, is do you think the culture is headed in the right direction with Mike Woodson?
Oh no, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
100%. After meeting Mike Woodson a couple of times, I caught a few of the Indiana games.
Mm-hmm.
Just hearing his passion. I mean, if Indiana fans think they're tough on Xavier Johnson or Rob Finney, like he puts the point guard should be the leader. The point guard should be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I love that idea, that philosophy. I look at what he did at the Northwestern game. He had to know that was an important game just to get a win. You're on the road in the Big Ten. Your guys don't do what they're supposed to do. You sit them. Like I respected that to the utmost. Like
Right.
I think things like that are going to help the culture. I think they lost some games after that, but when they got it together, they won some.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you got a coach that's willing to sacrifice wins or sacrifice maybe even a season just to get the culture right, I like it. I like that they're approaching it defensively, like because defense that travels, it's gonna stick. So I mean, I could see that changing at Indiana, but I like the path they're on. He got those dudes playing hard. He's been able to it's tough. I mean, I know it's tough just having one transfer come in, and John
Right.
Octi is the year he come. But
Mhm.
I mean, they have 3 or 4 transfers and freshmen. Just gelling that together has been a good job.
Mhm.
Getting those guys on the same accord, they've been doing it well. But I think Woody is building a good culture, a strong culture in the sense of even over basketball, you got to be a man first.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that he's a coach that's going to help raise young men into better people. So
Right. Right.
I like the culture they're building. I think if they get a few players in there, like they get a guard,
Yep.
I mean, they'd be dynamic, especially in the system that he can run. If they can get
Mhm.
a man, I agree with you. Like Yogi won
Mhm.
2 Big Ten championships in my
Right.
4
Yep.
years.
Mhm.
So it just shows you how important that is to have that. So
Yeah.
I think that I like what he's doing. I like what he's building. The coaching staff, real cool dudes, man. Like I would want to go play for them. And
Right.
I played at
Absolutely.
Purdue. So when I talk with them, I see them. It's always just genuine. They're good guys. They're not selling dreams. So I think they're heading the right place. And also best dressed staff in the Big Ten
Yeah. Right.
when they throw those suits on. So I
Yeah.
like the direction they're headed. I like when coaches really make a point to show their team that they're serious about them being men at the end of the day.
No doubt. Man, that's a great point.
And then I
Finally,
like my bad, just back
go
on
ahead.
that is that he really understands the Purdue IU rivalry.
Yeah, he
You
gets
saw
it.
him after IU beat Purdue. I mean, he's jumping around like he won the
Mhm.
game, got his hands up in the
You're
air.
right.
So I think you're at that point where that not only helps during the game, but it helps in recruiting.
Yes, it
So
does.
I think he's going to take that approach in recruiting. I think he gets like Paint. I don't know for sure, but I know when Indiana was getting all his Mr. Basketballs, that
Mhm.
was a salty taste in Paint's mouth. So now he's
Right.
getting
Yeah.
the Mr. Now Paint is getting the Mr. Basketballs. I
Mhm.
know IU is going to like we got Trey Kaufman Wren. He's from that side of the state.
Right.
So I think recruiting that'll change too. But I like what Woody's doing.
We've got step one, man, is to make that rivalry competitive. I mean, you guys have won like 9 of the
Exactly.
last 10, and that's why it's been real quiet on this side over here. I don't talk when we. It is not a rival. We lose in every game. So, but we finally was able to get one to get the juice back in it, man. And the recruiting wars, I love them. But I think with those two guys, because they're born and bred in their alma maters, it's a big amount of respect there. There's no
Yep.
line crossing. It's all about competing on all levels of college basketball, recruiting, socially, and on the floor. So, man, I'm excited for the next couple of years to watch Coach Woody build on it. And like you said, but we got to get guard play in there to be able to compete at the top of the Big Ten. You have to have it. And
Yep.
last question I asked you about IU is, man, who needs to step up in order, because I remember they played Michigan back after they beat Purdue.
Yeah.
I don't know who scheduled that, but they set them up. But you said IU up on that one, but
They went out and partied after they beat
oh, they
Purdue.
had to. You had to. You would have probably got jumped if you would have talked about, hey guys, we got a game tomorrow. Nobody goes out. You got jumped. So it came out flat, lethargic, and it's a good get back game for them. But who needs to
Yeah.
step up in order for them to get that elusive win to get an NCAA tournament?
I give you 2.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Johnson, I don't think he necessarily needs to step up. I think he needs to play well.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Jones, he's been playing extremely well. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I think above Hunter Dickinson, TJD, that'd be the marquee matchup. But I think the
Right.
point
Yeah.
guard matchup is big.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm
Yeah.
going back to what you said. I think that point guard matchup is huge. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think Parker Stewart, Miller Kopp, one of those guys got to do what they're there for.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly right.
and that's no disrespect to them, but they were brought there to shoot the ball, make threes, make shots. And a game between them, those two guys combining for 2 of 15, or like before Parker Stewart hit that shot in the corner, they were 2 of 15 in that
Yeah.
game combined.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that combination with them, you maybe put in. Nah, I'm looking at those two. Not, I mean, the
Yeah.
bench. Geronimo's giving great minutes.
Mm-hmm. Solid.
Galloway plays hard as anybody else. You know what
Mm-hmm.
you'll get. I mean, that I think they need like with Tamar Bates. He comes in the game aggressive. And
Yeah.
like he comes in trying to create. They need that off the bench. They need some
Mm-hmm.
scoring off the bench. But in that starting lineup, one of those two guys, Parker Stewart, Miller Kopp, they just got to shoot the ball, make shots.
Yeah.
And then, like you see with Miller Kopp made some shots in their last game. It opens the floor up.
Yeah, it
Everybody
does.
else gets to play a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the guys that it seems that Woody is sticking with. But if you're sticking with them, they got to be productive.
Yeah.
And rather it's making, because if you're not defending at a high level, you're getting cooked on the defensive end. You're not making shots while you're on the floor.
Right.
But I think those two have the ability, especially at this point in the season, especially if that shot that Parker Stewart hit, that got to give them a little more confidence. But I think those two offensively, you see Woody, they have some sets where they're running Parker off for 3 or 4 screens to come around for a 3. I think those things will help them tremendously because you think about Purdue, how Purdue plays, not comparing them to, but you may see Sasha Stefanovic, he runs off of 4 or 5 screens as a decoy sometimes, but you have to chase him because you know he could be the guy. And then on the other side of the court, they're throwing the ball inside. And I think that type of stuff will help open up the floor. But I got a lot of belief in Parker Stewart and Miller Kopp, especially Parker Stewart, to be able to make shots. I just think they need to just do it.
Right, exactly.
But those are my guys. If those guys step up and play well, it's Indiana, they're gonna lock up. They're gonna defend.
Yeah,
sometimes they can't score enough.
Right, exactly.
And then if those two guys are making shots, you take the Xavier Johnson doesn't have to shoot any threes. He can get to the basket. It just opens up the floor.
Right. Awesome, man. And finally, who's cutting down the nets this year, NCAA champion?
I'm going Purdue.
Purdue?
I'm going Purdue. Just not even just because I'm a Purdue guy, but I think they had so many gut-wrenching losses at the end of at the buzzer. I mean, the last second losses. I think they come into tournament play energized, new season. I think they shoot when they're on, they 40% from the 3. They got the 2 bigs inside. You really can't do much with them. I think with Eric Hunter, their entire deal this year has been not being able to defend at a high level.
Right.
But I think Eric Hunter, how he's been defending the last few games, I think he could be that guy that you can throw in a Johnny Davis, guard him, make somebody else beat you. And as long as you see Wisconsin, they had somebody else to beat them. But as long as you can lock up across the board, I think Purdue has a chance because offensively it's like a well-oiled machine. But I like Arizona as well. I like Arizona with their 2 bigs. They have 2 bigs and they have an NBA guard. And they're 2 bigs. They're power forward. They have 3 bigs, power forward, 2 centers, all over 7 foot.
Right.
So, I mean, and they straight up neutralized Kofi Coburn when they played in Illinois. The guard went for 30. So I like Arizona as well.
Who wins the Big Ten tournament?
I mean, I like Iowa, man. I like the way Iowa's been playing. I like the way Iowa's been playing. You beat Illinois if Chris Murray, Keegan Murray don't go 1 for 6 from the free throw line on those 2 3-point attempts. Yeah. So I mean, the way they were in control that entire game until the end, and they're on the road, tough environment. I like what Fran is doing at Iowa. I think Iowa's gonna be tough out.
Tough out for Iowa. Man, you're in the best place in the world for the next week, man. You're at the Big Ten tournament in Annapolis, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Excited to watch your growth. I know they always talk about Robbie Hummel, but Rapheal Davis is on the rise when it comes to Big Ten analysts now. Robbie does an excellent job. 2 Purdue guys getting it done in the TV world. Thanks for taking the time to rock with us here on the House of Hoosier podcast. Because at the end of the day, you are a Hoosier. I mean, by definition,
no doubt,
Indiana native, you are a Hoosier, but he's a strong Boilermaker alum and an excellent TV analyst, man. We looking forward to seeing more from you, watching your growth in that arena. So thank you for joining us, man. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be tapping into you to try to get some insight on what's going on at the Big Ten tournament this week. So get out there to Indianapolis. Get to the Big Ten tournament, support the Big Ten. Appreciate you, Rapheal, man. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, yeah, no time. No doubt. Anytime you need me, I got you.
I appreciate it, man. Rapheal Davis out, House of Hoosier.